The following episode of the 8 p.m. quiz may contain strong language, adult themes, and very bad jokes. Please approach it with care.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome and happy Australia Day, the day we celebrate the landing of Captain James Cook at Gallipoli, ending the Battle of Long Tan by riding a stump jump plough all the way to Lassiter's Reef off Cairns. And if you don't believe me, just ask National Senate leader Senator Bridget McKenzie, who said this on Sky News this morning.
That is a certain section of that community. And yes, that needs to be recognised that that's how they feel on that day. But the reality is that is when the course of our nation changed forever. When Captain Cook stepped ashore. And from then on, we've built an incredibly successful society, best multicultural society in the world. And in order to continue that trajectory, we need to actually work together. I think when you look at Australians when we're at our best, whether it's through very difficult times, through wartime, even how Australians are rallying behind our drought-affected farmers, I think that is when we are at our best, and we need to harness that feeling of continuity, that feeling of being at one, moving forward as a nation, in order to not just harness all the opportunities of the 21st century, but to overcome the challenges that are coming our way.
The day Captain Cook stepped foot on Australia. For those of you who aren't, Australians watching this, no, that's not what Australia Day is marking. That gets quite complicated, but yeah. This is the 8 p.m. quiz of everything 2023 part 2. I'm Stilgarian. Thank you for joining me. Over the next hour and a half, I'll be asking you questions and you'll be writing down the answers. Some of those answers will be correct, some will not be correct. If you can get even half of them right, you're doing very well in this quiz. If you haven't seen previous episodes, well, the concept is pretty easy. It's just like a pub quiz, except you're not at the pub and neither am I. And also tonight, I will just say in less than an hour, we are wrapping up my current crowdfunding campaign. There it is there. Refresh 2023. We've actually reached all the targets that I had set, which is amazing. There's still less than an hour ago. We've reached target 5. We've gone past target 5. I'm blown away. So thank you to everyone. I'll do all the admin later. You can still contribute if you want, but I'm going to suggest, which button shall I press here? I'm going to suggest you go to that address if you want to contribute, because if you go to that address, you take away all of Possible's fees and some other things. And indeed, if you use something like PayID, there are no fees whatsoever. So that's good. I mean, we've reached the target, so your money goes straight through anyway. But go through to the other one if you have. You can have a look to see what it's all about. But I didn't set a target 6, so there we go. While we're waiting for some latecomers to join us, which I'm sure will happen. I'll leave that on the screen for the moment. Who's here? Who's here? Pong, hi, yes, red T-shirt for a change, which I found. It's from Magnet Studios in Nottingham? Nottingham, in the UK. I've never been there. Hi, Bren. Hi, Oberon's Ghost. Alex Kidman, good to see you. Can you get bonus points for answers that are even more insane than this news clip? So there you go. I mean, I'm in a generous mood today because you have been in a generous mood. Pete Sandilands reckons I should... Oh, sorry, the green screen's doing weird things with my glasses. I'll try and keep my face down there. Pete Sandilands reckons I should have cut up the meat for the butcher bird. Nah, he seems to cope with that. But no faffing about. I think we need to get onto it. The game mechanics are pretty simple. There's 45 questions, 15 each, in parts 1, 2 and 3, divided into 3 rounds of 5 questions each in each part. You get it. Each round is 5 questions. There are 3 rounds per part and 3 parts. So it's lots of 3s and 5s. Also, don't put the answers into the live chat unless they're both funny and wrong. In fact, the more shit posting in the chat, the better. Let's see if everyone can do it this week. There can be a delay, by the way, between when I say things and it goes up to YouTube and then down to you and you respond and type something in the chat and it goes back up to YouTube and back down to me. That can take up to a minute. So be patient when I'm responding to you. And finally, don't cheat. There's no point in cheating because there's no prizes. And if you cheat, you're only cheating yourselves, right? So if you haven't filled your drinks yet, do that right now. Get your pencils at the ready because here we go with round 1. Let's just... I can't do anything about the green screen. Fuck it. We're there. Question 1 is the new news round, which is to say the news. Question 1 with 1 point. In the Philippines, the price of an ordinary thing has soared. It's gone up to 720 pesos a kilogram. Pesos a kilogram. That's $18 Australian a kilogram for this thing which would normally you'd just have in the kitchen. That's more than the daily minimum wage in Manila. And that's led to the smuggling of tons and tons of this stuff. What is this product that people are starting to smuggle in the Philippines? You've probably got it in your kitchen right now. That's question 1. Question 2, Nadhim Zahawi is in the news this week. Who is he, you ask? Well, he was the UK's Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Treasurer, for a few minutes last year. He was also Chair of the Conservative Party. But why is Nadhim Zahawi in the news this week? That's question 2 for a point. Question 3, in the last 7 days, at least at lunchtime today when I wrote this question, how many Qantas flights have returned to their destination due to technical problems or paperwork problems in the last week? It's more than 3. How many Qantas flights? As of lunchtime today, according to the latest news I had, which was around lunchtime today. So that's question 3. Question 4, New South Wales state election coming up in just 58 sleeps on the 25th of March. Dominic Perrottet is the Liberal Party Premier. We know that. He dressed as a Nazi. But who is the Labor leader? Who is the opposition leader of New South Wales? Hi, Mick Fong. Yes, you've wrangled everyone in, but hey, you've only missed 3 questions. I can tell you what they are. Question 1, what produce in the Philippines has soared in price to the level that people are actually smuggling it? It's a pretty basic thing. Question 2, Nadhim Zahawi, former UK Chancellor of the Exchequer, in the news this week. Why is he? Question 3, lunchtime today. By lunchtime today, how many Qantas flights have returned to their destination in the last week? Question 4, who is the Labor leader of New South Wales? Leader of the opposition. And that brings us up to date. So question 5 is our first picture question. 1 point each, the names of these people who have all been in the news this week. Wade makes the point. Yeah, just note down answers that you think you know. You might even get some points. That's broadly speaking how this works. So there are 3 people in the news this week There's even some clues in the photo credits about the kind of thing they do, really, isn't there? Who are they? Those three people. Do you need any more time? Nah, I don't think you do. So we'll go on to round two. Round two is one of the special subject rounds, and given that it's Australia Day, the special subject in round two is Australia Day. So question 6. Which of the following dates has never been Australia Day? I'm going to give you 5 dates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dates. And 4 of them have been Australia Days and 1 of them hasn't. They are the 26th of July, the 27th of July, the 28th of July, the 29th of July, and the 30th of July. All those, except one, have been celebrated as Australia Day. Which one is not true? 26, 27, 28, 29, or 30th of July? That's question 6. That'll be worth a point. Question 7. Australia Day for a period was also known as ANA Day. ANA Day. What was ANA for a point? This one might be hard. I didn't know this until yesterday, day before, was poking up some questions. So ANA, or perhaps the ANA, what was it? First half of last century, if that helps. Although it was actually founded. Founded. There's a clue. Question 7, ANA Day, what was ANA? Question 8, Australia Day marks not the landing of Captain Cook, but something that happened more than a decade later, the arrival of the first fleet for the colony of New South Wales. How many ships were in that first fleet? More than 7, less than 21. How many ships were there in the first fleet for a point? Question 9, there's 3 points available here. So, first fleet arrived, right? 6 days, well, while it was waiting in Botany Bay before it came round into Sydney Harbour, Port Jackson, 2 French ships arrived. They were also poking around Australia. So what were the names of the 2 French ships? And what was the name of the French commander? Yeah, there's a reason that certain landmarks around Australia have French names, because there were French explorers as well. So 6 days after the first fleet, Botany Bay, 2 French ships arrived. And the first fleet was there. So what were the names of the 2 French ships and who was the captain? Not Joan of Arc. I'll give you that clue. Question 10. In what year did Advance Australia Fair first become Australia's national anthem? Shitful song. Tedious, droning thing. Anyway, in what year did Advance Australia Fair first become Australia's national anthem? And now on to round 3, which is geekery. And, we've got a few photos to look at in this round. For question 11, that dish. There's 3 points available here. Where would you find that dish? What James Bond film did it feature in? And how has this dish changed since this photograph was taken? So, where would you find this dish? It's quite famous. Which James Bond movie did it feature in? If you followed our Bond on Tuesday, you should remember this. And how has this dish changed since this photograph was taken? Significant change. Okay, that's question 11. Question 12, 2 points available. I want to know what this is and what you'd use it for. Now, I am of the opinion that the name will be really obscure. So you might be able to have a bit of fun for this, and I might do some bonus points. But what is it? But what you'd use it for, I think that's pretty easy to work out. If it's any help, it was used during the medieval and Renaissance times. That's question 12. 2 points. What is it called and what's it used for? Question 13. This man is called Robert Goddard. Robert Goddard is an American and he's famous for his engineering work in what field? What was Robert Goddard famous for? What did he do? He's an American and he's an engineer. Robert Goddard. His eyes are quite beguiling, aren't they? All right. That was question 13. Question 14, what is the least dense metal? There's lots of metals. Which one's the least dense? If you prefer, what is the lightest metal? And for a second point, or another point, what is its atomic number? Where is it on the periodic table? What is the least dense metal and what is its atomic number? And the very last question in part 1 is question 15. It's the critter question. And here is this episode's critter. What is that? This was worth 3 points. So I want to know what that is. Doesn't it have a nice pink dangly thing? Yeah, you're going to be careful, Alex Kidman, because yes, we don't have all of the things there, all the questions at once. Okay. Have you looked at this lovely thing enough? Is it time to go back and start doing the answers? I think it is. So let's go all the way back to question 1. And the question was, this is for 1 point, what's the thing that has soared in price and people have started smuggling it in the Philippines? The answer is onions. Onions have become ridiculously expensive, so much so that this bit's according to the Guardian. One viral image sums up just how precious they've become. A bride clutches a bouquet of onions on her wedding day and all the wedding guests can take home 1 onion from her bouquet. So onions for 1 point. Question 2, Nadim Zahawi is in the news. Why are tax problems for a point? Britain's tax authority says he's been, quote, careless and not deliberate in his tax filings, but he's paid out to settle the matter. I would like to have tax problems like this. His payout was around £5 million. That's more than 8.5 million Australian dollars to just settle his tax affairs. So tax problems for a point. Question 3. In the last 7 days, how many Qantas flights returned to their destination? The answer is 7 now. 7 as of lunchtime today. 7 for a point. Question 4. The state Labor leader in New South Wales is this bloke. His name is Christopher John Minns. Chris Minns is the answer, M-I-N-N-S. Minns, you get a point for his surname. Chris Minns is the answer. He is our Labor leader. Ms. Katz, can I get a point for tax fraud? Look, I will give it. I mean, he's not actually been found guilty of fraud, but it's tax problems. It's been acknowledged as a mistake, though how do you make a £5 million mistake? I don't know. But I'll give you the point. Dean Madden asks whether we can do the astronomer's definition of metals, i.e. everything that isn't hydrogen. No, you can't, because that would cause problems with everything. Okay, Chris Minns for a point. Question 5, 1 point each for these names. On the left, that's our Mabel, who is Young Australian of the Year. I'll give you half a point if you said Young Australian of the Year or that football player. So that's our Mabel. In the middle, that's Mike Pence, who was a vice president under Trump. He has been found to be one of those with classified documents at his home. So Mike Pence in the middle. And on the left, that is Natasha Fyles, F-Y-L-E-S. She is Chief Minister of the Northern Territory. I'll give you half a point for Chief Minister of the Northern Territory. Yes, that first answer will have you in tears. That's terrible. Question 6. Which of the following dates have never been Australia Day? The answer is 29th of July. The 29th of July is the correct answer. This is a World War I thing. In 1915, during World War I, Ellen Wharton Kirk, she had 4 sons in the army, and she thought of a national day to raise money to help wounded soldiers. And they chose Australia Day for it as the name, so it sounded patriotic, right? Support the soldiers. So the first one was in the 30th of July, 1915, and they had it in subsequent years, but the day varied because the calendar moved, so they had the 28th in 1916, the 27th in 1917, the 26th in 1918, but there was never one on the 29th. But yes, Australia Day during World War I was in late July. So 1 point for 29th of July. Question 7. Australia Day was also known as ANA Day. ANA was the Australian Natives Association. A point, full point if you got the name. The ANA was a mutual society, so sort of like an insurance firm. It was actually founded in Melbourne in 1871, and you might be thinking Australian Natives Association would be about Indigenous people, but no. This was founded by and for the benefit of Australian-born white Australians, not Indigenous Australians. And in fact, it was one of the last organisations to support the White Australia policy. And I think this was in about 1920, they sold this badge, Australia for the Australians, by which they meant white Australians. Yes, they, as I say, were one of the last Australian groups to support the White Australia policy all the way up, I believe, to the 1960s. Also along with the RSL, the Return and Services League. Distinctly racist. Look, I'll give you a point if you said a bunch of white racist cunts. There you go. That'll do, if you have it. That's a 1 point. Question 8, how many ships in the First Fleet? The answer is 11 for 1 point. 11 ships, 6 convict transports, 3 supply ships, and 2 naval escorts. So 11 is the answer for a point. Question 9. The 2 French ships were called the Astrolabe and the Boussole, which is compass. The Astrolabe and the compass, or the Astrolabe and the Boussole. And who was the commander? This is Jean-François de Galop, Comte de La Pérouse, or if you prefer, Jean-François La Pérouse, which is why there's a suburb not far from Botany Bay called La Pérouse. There is La Pérouse. So, Astrolabe, Boussole or compass, and La Pérouse, 1 point each. I could remember the Astrolabe. I didn't know there was a second ship, but I remembered La Pérouse. Question 10. Advance Australia Fair became Australia's national anthem first in 1974. So a point for 1974. However, it was replaced back by God Save the Queen in 1976. Then there was a plebiscite in 1977 that said, no, we want Advance Australia Fair. So in 1984, it was changed back again to Advance Australia Fair. So you'll get a point for 1974. I'll give you half a point for 1984 because some people knew there was a referendum in the 80s. Well, we're racists in Australia. Another point. Wade's doing well. So that's a point for 1974. Okay, round 3, the geekery round. 11. Okay, that is the Arecibo radio telescope. So for 1 point, I'll accept Puerto Rico. It's in Arecibo in Puerto Rico. So that gets you a point. Question for the second point, which James Bond film? That is GoldenEye. And for the third point, what's changed? The answer is it's fallen down. It was damaged a bit in a hurricane, and then in 2020 there was a series of cable snaps, and that receiver thing up the top in the middle, that fell down and through the dish and smashed it all up, and it's collapsed. It's a mess. So they're not going to rebuild it. So there you have it. The 3 points are for Arecibo in Puerto Rico. You'll get the point for Puerto Rico. GoldenEye, and it's fallen down. Question 12. What is this device? Now, you'll get a point if you know the name. This is the pear of anguish, as in the fruit, the pear. The pear of anguish. I'll accept the pear of pain or something. I think but it was really the pear of anguish. What do you use it for? Well, it's a torture device. So a point for torture advice. It's also called the choke pear or the mouth pear. Okay. This one's from the 1600s. It can be used in orifices other than the mouth. Let's just say what you do is you insert the pear into the orifice and then you just turn the key that opens it up wider and wider and wider. It was largely used against witches, so you can imagine how that happened. It was also used to torture women who induced a miscarriage. We would call them abortionists today, I suppose, as well as for liars, blasphemers, and homosexuals. So again, you can think about how that might be used. That is the pear of anguish for a point, torture for another point. Question 13, why is Robert Goddard famous for his engineering? For the point, it's rockets, rocketry. In fact, here is a better picture, and both of these pictures came from NASA. He was better known outside the United States than in the United States in the time. He did a lot of this in the 1920s and 30s. The German engineers learnt from a lot of his work. But that is Robert Goddard. Rocketry is the point there. Rockets, rocketry. If you particularly knew he was famous mostly for liquid fuel rockets, I'll give you an extra point. There you go. Question 14. The least dense or lightest metal for a point is lithium. And it is number 3 on the atomic number / periodic table. So that gets you 2 points. Lithium and 3, because you all know it goes hydrogen, helium, lithium, doesn't it? So lithium for a point, 3 for a point. And finally, question 15. That, dear player, is a marabou stork. Leptoptelos criminiferus. I'll give you a half a point. This question's worth 3 points, so I'll give you a point and a half if you said some weird ass stork. It's from sub-Saharan Africa, so kind of Central Africa and southwards. I don't know what the pink dangly thing is for. I saw what it was called, but that means nothing to me. But it has this pink dangly thing. That is a marabou stork for 3 points, or some weird fucking stork for 3 points. Now, while we're waiting for the crowdfunder to wrap up, even though it's gone past its target, it's a possible 25 points in part 1. Stork gets you the half points, Ms. Cat, so 1.5 points for stork. To get the full 3 points, you need marabou stork. You can have stork, weird stork, whatever. As long as stork is somewhere in your answer, you'll get 1.5 points for that. Boron is a moron. Yes, it doesn't even have... Well, it depends on its temperature, Alex. No, Wade, aircraft is not close enough. We do need rockets. He specifically did rockets. So there you go. So let me know how you did out of 25. Your answers, your totals will be going up to the cloud and back down. Mick Fong, 9 out of 25. It's not bad. This I think was a tough lot. Ms. Cat on 8.5. You can all read it there in the chat. As we go on to part 2, and round 4 is 5 questions about the media in its various forms. I better load the questions up. Question 16, this bloke. Oh, we don't need that in front of him. His name is Li Bai. What art is he famous for? What creative endeavour is Li Bai famous for? I'll give you a clue. He's from China. You may have guessed that. I'll give you another clue. He was born in the year 701 of the Common Era. As that's coming in, I can see that most of you are getting scores. Lots of 7s, an 8.5, a couple of 9s. Yeah. Okay, I think that sets the mark for... Oh, SRJH on 10. Wow. Saved by the science stuff. Yeah, that's it. So, Li Bai, what is he famous for? What creative art? He's very, very famous in China. Question 17, there are 2 points available here. It's about the Untitled Goose Game. Oh, Pong 4.5. Yeah, it's very cruel. Too much Australian stuff. Too much stuff. Okay, 2 points here. In what year did the Untitled Goose Game come out? What year was it released? Huge selling game. Fabulously popular game. So what year did it come out? And in what city are its creators based? So what year did it come out and what city did it come from? 2 points there for the wonderful, wonderful Untitled Goose Game. Question 18 is about that kind of media called sport. What is the name of the Australian international swimming team? Australia's renowned for its swimmers. What's its international swimming team called? I should have gone honk for the goose, shouldn't I? Question 18, what is the name of the Australian international swimming team? Question 19 is the which actor has been in these film questions. The word actor is used in a non-gender specific way. So there is an actor who's been in all these films. I'm listing quite a few here, and I think you should be able to get this one. The films are, in alphabetical order, Caddyshack, Charlie's Angels from the year 2000, Ed Wood, Little Shop of Horrors, The Monument Men. We had someone from The Monument Men the other day, didn't we? The Royal Tenenbaums, Space Jam, Stripes, and Tootsie. So I'll read those films again. They're in alphabetical order. Caddyshack, Charlie's Angels, Ed Wood, Little Shop of Horrors, The Monument Men, The Royal Tenenbaums, Space Jam, Stripes, and Tootsie. One actor has been in all those films. What is their name? And question 20, it's a picture question. Who are these people? 1 point each for their names. They're all singers who were active in the 1980s. I'll leave them on the screen for a moment. I'll see how the campaign's going. No, people have obviously decided that's enough. And people put some stuff through the tips, so that's really the tip thing. That's really nice. So question 19 was the actor for a point. Question 20, who are all these people? For 3 points. Okay, that was question 20. Question 21 is world affairs. In its thing. So 5 questions here on world affairs. Question 21 for a point. It's not just Australia Day today. Another country is celebrating its 74th Republic Day. Which country is that? It has been in the news. This country celebrates its 74th Republic Day today. Which country is that? Question 22. Question 22. Who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand? Who is the Prime Minister of New Zealand at the time of streaming / recording? Who is the Prime Minister of New Zealand? I mean, this happens all the time, doesn't it? Question 23. So there are 2 mines in Russia, that is places where you dig things out of the ground. Well, there's more than 2 mines in Russia, obviously. It's quite a big place. You may have known, but Russia is fucking-enormous. But there's 2 mines called Mir and Udachnia. Mir is peace and Udachnia is lucky. What mineral do these mines produce? They're some of the biggest in the world. Mir and Udachnia, peace and lucky. Give you a clue, they're both big open cut mines. They're not drill holes and tunnels mines. What are these? Don't stress too much. There's quite a lot of this mineral found in Australia too, as it happens. What do these 2 mines in Russia produce? Okay. Question 24. The former US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has a new book out, a new memoir. And according to him, in news this week, back in 1929, 2 countries got very close to having a nuclear war. And he reckons he was involved in talking them down. So which 2 countries? 1 point each for the names of these 2 countries who nearly had a nuclear war in 2019. I personally suspect he's probably talking up his own role in that a bit, but you never know. So which two countries? 1 point for each country. That's question 24. Question 25. You know all about the Olympic Games, I'm sure. This is important in world affairs for some reason. 3 points here, but they've got to be in the right order. In what cities will the next 3 Olympic Games be? And by that I mean the summer games. So in the years 2024, 2028 and 2032. That's as far ahead as we know. I want the names of 3 cities. There's 3 points available, but they have to be in the right order, I think. Yeah, in the right order. I think you should know that. So, yeah. I think that's clear enough, isn't it? Question 25, where will the 3 Olympic Games be? And then round 6, old news, i.e. history. And I thought that given it's Australia Day, there would be an Indigenous Australian theme to these questions. And I suspect that most of us are white people on this chat, I think, and we will do very badly at this. So I hope I've made them a little bit accessible. Question 26. So in 1994, the Maralinga Jarutja, which means kind of local council of the Maralinga people in South Australia, in the area of Maralinga, they were finally paid compensation for all the problems caused by the British nuclear tests that happened at Maralinga between 1955 and 1963. How much compensation was this tribe paid in total? And I'll give you 5 possible answers. Was it A, 1.35 million, B, 13.5 million, C, 135 million, or D, 1.35 billion? So see what I've done there? I've done it in orders of magnitude. A, 1.35 million, B, 13.5, C, 135 million, or D, 1.35 billion. This is in 1994 dollars. This is to compensate this tribe for the damage to the land, for the health problems, the displacement while they were taken out while the tests were happening, etc., etc., etc. So was it A, 1.35, B, 13.5 mil, C, 135 mil, or D, 1.35 billion? And if it helps, 2023 dollars are a little over double the worth of 1994 dollars, if that helps. Yeah, okay. That's question 26. Only for a point. Question 27. What's going on here? You are looking at an area maybe 100 metres across, maybe a bit bigger. I'm sorry I didn't include a banana for scale. Hi KA for joining us. Pete Lawler makes the point that the compensation wasn't enough. Yeah, probably for having your tribal lands nuked and people dying is not necessarily the best way to go, but, you know, that's the sort of thing that happened. How much do you reckon it was? Oh, no, that's the thing. We're already up to 27. What's going on here? What are we looking at in that photograph? That's question 27. Question 28 is about the names of modern cities, lining them up with Indigenous peoples. So there you see on the screen 3 names of Indigenous peoples: the Yugara, the Gauna, and the Ngunnawal. Which cities, which modern cities match up with them? Now, obviously, they don't line up perfectly, but you know, you'll know which ones are the closest. So The Yugara, the Gauna, and the Ngunnawal. Ngunnawal. That Ngunnawal is hard. Okay, so a point each for them, I think. Do you need to think through that a bit more? Probably not. Question 29 is a picture question. Here are 3 Indigenous Australians. Who are they? They are all 3 very significant, not just as Indigenous people, but as Indigenous people in their interactions with white society in different kind of ways, in broad ways. That's a broad category, but there are 3 people there. I know that the bloke on the left, we heard about him at school. He was one of the very few people we did hear about. In the middle, everyone above a certain age should know her. Very famous internationally as well. And the bloke on the right, incredibly significant for Indigenous rights in Australia. Yes, Alex has reminded me I forgot to do the warning to Indigenous people that they might be seeing the images of the deceased. I keep forgetting that. I'm sorry. I hope everyone was prepared for that. The woman in the middle is still alive. I can give that as a clue. My apologies for not providing the relevant warning. I'd actually remembered to do that earlier too. I didn't write it down. So always write down your notes. Okay, and question 30 is who am I? And this who am I is an Indigenous person. I was born around 1775 and I'm from the Gurungai people of Broken Bay, north of Sydney. In the 1790s, I moved to the growing settlement of Sydney, which, you remember was only founded in 1788. So quite soon I moved to Sydney, where I established myself as someone able to move between my own people and the newcomers. That phrasing's from Wikipedia, the newcomers. In 1798, I accompanied the English navigator Matthew Flinders on a coastal survey as his interpreter, guide and negotiator with the local Indigenous groups. And in fact, I kept on with this work and eventually became the first Australian-born person to circumnavigate the Australian mainland. Eventually, through all of this work as a diplomat, I suppose, and an interpreter and so on, I became known as the King of Port Jackson and King of the Blacks. Oh, how cringeworthy is that? And my principal wife, Cora Gooseberry, became known as my Queen. So, who am I? Born 1775 from the Gurungai people of Broken Bay. I moved down to Sydney where I became, as I say, a kind of interpreter, guide, negotiator with Indigenous groups, not just along the coast of New South Wales, but around the whole country, accompanying Matthew Flinders. And I'll give you another clue. If you've known me for a while, you have very definitely heard this name many times, although not correctly. Who am I? And that brings us to the end of part 2. So let's scroll back and have a bit of a think. Have a bit of an answer. Okay, Li Bai, this bloke. For 1 point, poetry. He was the most famous poet of the Tang dynasty, and according to Wikipedia, he's been acclaimed from his own time to the present as a brilliant and romantic figure who took traditional poetic forms to a new height. There's also a legend that, well, he loved drinking, put it that way. I won't tell the legend. Look him up. Li Bai, Libai, a point for poetry. Question 17, The Untitled Goose Game. It was released in 2019 for the point, and its creators are in Melbourne, Australia for the other point. The Untitled Goose Game is an Australian game. Question 19, which actor has... Oh, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Question 18, the Australian international swimming team is the Dolphins. Dolphins for a point. Question 19, which actor was in all those films? The answer is Bill Murray. Bill Murray has been in all those films. And question 20, the picture question. They are from left to right, singer Garth Brooks. In the middle, singer Seal. And on the right, singer Alanis Morissette. So a point each for Garth Brooks, Seal, and Alanis Morissette. Question 21 in the World Affairs round. It's also India having its Republic Day today. So India for a point. Question 22, who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand? It's this bloke, but we need the name. That is Chris Hipkins. Hipkins for the point. Chris Hipkins. Question 23, those two mines in Russia produce diamonds. You know, those shiny things made out of carbon. Diamonds is the answer. Question 24, 1 point each for the countries India and Pakistan. India and Pakistan nearly went to nuclear war in 2019. That had been after some India had launched strikes against militants in Pakistani territory, which had followed an attack on Indian troops in Kashmir. And then Pakistan said it had shot down 2 Indian military jets, captured a fighter pilot. Anyway, India and Pakistan are the two countries for 2 points, 1 point each. And question 25, next 3 Olympic Games. So I want these cities in this order. You get 1 point for each city you get in the right slot. Okay, first one, 2024, Paris in France. Question 20, then 28, Los Angeles in the United States. And then in 2032, it'll be Brisbane in Australia. So the 3 cities are Paris, Los Angeles, Brisbane. Paris, Los Angeles, Brisbane. 1 point for each of those you got in the right spot. Okay, the old news. Question 26, the answer is B, 13.5 million in compensation. That's just under 28 million Australian dollars in today's money. So 13.5 million, or B if you just wrote down the letter, that gets you a point. What's going on here? The answer is fish traps. These particular fish traps, well, they're kind of wrecked now, but they're on the Darling River in the Brewarrina region of Western New South Wales. I will say that Indigenous fish traps have also been found on Lake Alexandrina in South Australia, various spots in the Northern Territory, a whole bunch of others. Fish trapping was a thing. So essentially, as I understand them, they're set up so the fish flow down through an opening in the stones with the water and then get trapped at the bottom, and then some stones are pushed back to trap them in place. And the ones are down by Lake Alexandrina in South Australia, there's also evidence to suggest they were fish farms, rather than a trap. As Kat says, eel traps. I will accept eel traps. An eel is a type of fish. But, yeah, trapping fish. Trap is the key there, I think, and some sort of fishy activity. Half a point if you said something fishy is going on. What was there? Hitchens, me and mine. Instead of Hipkins, I'll give you a quarter of a point. Quarter of a point for Hitchens. What else is happening there? Okay, there we go. Those two mines in Russia. No, we've done that. Hipkins. I'll scroll back to do the other thing. What have we done? We've done that. These three. Yugara is Brisbane. Gowna is Adelaide. And Ngunnawal is Canberra. So the cities you were looking for were Brisbane, Adelaide, and Canberra. 1 point each. Question 29 was the picture question. Okay, this is quite maybe tough. On the left, that is Albert Namatjira, or if you prefer, Elia Namatjira, a renowned watercolour artist. Now, here's the thing. He became such a well-known watercolour artist. He was one of the stolen generations. He grew up kind of a Western existence until he was 13, and then he went back to tribal lands and went through the coming of age ceremony and was, I suppose, awoken to his true ancestry. His watercolour style was therefore very Western in style, but he was very good, renowned internationally. He became so renowned that they ended up making him an Australian citizen in 1957. He was the first Indigenous Australian to become an actual citizen of Australia in 1957, long before the referendum, because, it just got a bit embarrassing, and he, of course, became a campaigner for Indigenous rights. So Albert Namatjira. In the middle, that is Yvonne Goolagong Cawley, the tennis player. I will accept either Yvonne Goolagong or Yvonne Cawley, as you wish. And on the right, that is Vincent Lingiari, who was the leader of the strike, or the strike by Aboriginal workers at the Wave Hill Station in the Northern Territory. Was it just across the border in Western Australia? Anyway, up north. Essentially, Aboriginal workers were only paid in their rations, that is in their food, in tobacco and their clothing for working on Wave Hill Station, the cattle station. And Vincent Lingiari led a walk-off which began in 1966 and ran for 7 years. Now, does this sound a bit like slavery? You only get their rations, their tobacco and their clothing for all of their work? It does, doesn't it? Anyway, Vincent Lingiari led that. So, Albert Namatjira, Yvonne Goolagong Cawley, and Vincent Lingiari in the thing. Possibly a tough one unless you know some of the history there, but there you go. And the who am I question is this bloke. That is Bungaree, or Bungaree, and his name is bastardised in the cottages where I live in the Blue Mountains, which are called Bungaree cottages. Someone started spelling it. Yeah, didn't know how to spell it. But here we are. They didn't know how to spell Rosella either. But that is Bungaree, who became known rather patronisingly as King of the Blacks. But yeah, he was also an entertainer. So Bungaree, Bungaree, you can see it there on his, spelt even a different way with a Y rather than double E on that plate around his neck. So that was question 30. And according to my count, there's 20 possible points in part 2 and you add that to 25 points possible in the previous round, so it's possibly out of 45 points at the moment. Who else we got there? Oh, Mick Fong is telling me that the fish traps worked on tides. That makes a lot more sense. That also means I've seen some based up in Queensland where there are actually on the foreshore. Although those we had were on the river, so I don't know. Do you get tides on the Darling River? I wouldn't have thought so. Okay, Ms. Cat got 12 out of 20 in that round. That's very good. Alex Kidman says a good round. Me and mine got 10 and a quarter for that round. Yeah, that's fun. Oh, and it's just gone 9 o'clock, so yes, the patriotic shelling, as Oberon's Ghost said, has started the fireworks. You got Wolf Coughlin got 15 out of 20 on that round. That is fantastic. That is brilliant. Pete Sandlin's 10 out of 20. They are really, really good scores. And I will just say, because the no, you know how to send me money. I'll do that thing at the end. It starts sounding a bit desperate, doesn't it? So on to part 3, and round 7 is, of course, geography. Question 31, which is further from the equator? Is it Washington, D.C. in the United States, or is it Canberra, Australia, the two nations' capital cities? Which is further from the equator, Washington, D.C. or Canberra, Australia? There's not a huge amount in it, I will say. Yeah, look, I'm seeing some good scores coming up in the chat, so that's good. I'm impressed with you folks. They're good scores. So question 31, what's further from the equator, Washington DC or Canberra, Australia? Question 32, for 3 points, in any order, name the top 3 wheat producing countries in the world. Which countries, according to the figures I have, and I can't remember where I got them from, doesn't change a lot year to year, so it's no more than a couple of years old. So the top 3 wheat-producing countries in the world by millions of tonnes. Which 3 countries? Any order. I won't be fussy this time. I'll give you a clue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ukraine is number 7. Pakistan is number 8. But not much between them. But I want the top 3. Okay, 3 points available there, any order. Question 33, where is the world's largest known single deposit of uranium? You know, the nuclear stuff? The world's largest single deposit of uranium is where? There's 2 points here. I'll give you 1 point if you can name the country, 2 points if you can name the specific place. Okay. So where is uranium? That's question 33. Question 34, where would you find the Sunda Strait? S-U-N-D-A, strait. You know, a body of water between 2 islands, continents, that sort of thing. The Sunda Strait, S-U-N-D-A. A point if you have the country, or countries. I gave that away. 2 points if you can kind of narrow it down a bit. That'll become obvious when I give the answers. And if you know it. That's question 34 for 2 points, which means that question 35 is the infamous map question. There it is. We're in the northern part of South America this time. There are 5 points available here. I have labelled 9 countries with numbers. I'm going to read out the names of 5 countries. And for 1 point each, you will write down the numbers that correspond to that country. They've been chosen at random and the order is at random. Here we go. For A, Suriname. Suriname. is which letter? Which number? B is Brazil. If you don't get that, I will be most unimpressed with you. C is Venezuela, which is a country that MAGA people and American far-right people want to go on and on and on about being socialist. Terrible. D is Guyana, but remember there's something else called French Guiana, so don't get confused. And E, Colombia. I'll read those again. A, Suriname. B, Brazil. C, Venezuela. D, Guyana. And E, Colombia. Just have a little bit of my drink while you're pondering that. I'm starting to run out of sort of suitable regions of the world, I think, so I don't know whether I'm going to end up starting to repeat some of these or perhaps do cities in Australia or craters of the moon, something like that. Okay, A, Suriname, B, Brazil, C, Venezuela, D, Guyana, E, Colombia. That's question 35. Now on to round 8, another special subject round. And this special subject round is going to be about aviation. Now, I know that that can be a bit geeky, so I'm not going to make it about, well, I've tried to make the questions a bit more, not about aeroplanes and avgeek and plain spurger stuff, but something a little bit more general, a little bit more historical. Sorry, I'm just faffing about with my earbud there. So question 36, there's 3 points available here. The 3 points are for what's special about this aircraft. It's called the Spirit of St. Louis, if you can't quite make it out on screen. So what's special about this aircraft? For the second point, in what year did it do the special thing? And for the third point, who was the pilot who did the special thing in this aircraft? So this aircraft is called the Spirit of St. Louis. So what's special about it? What was it involved with that was special? In what year did that happen? And who was the pilot? I'm enjoying the shit posting puns on the chat, such as this round should be plain sailing. Although Alex Kidman feels unlikely to take off. So there you go. So question 36, what's special? What year? Who was the pilot? Question 37, about another kind of aircraft. This is fairly easy, the first one. 3 points available here. First point, what sort of aircraft is this? What model? It's a kind of model aircraft like that is really well known. So what sort of aircraft is it? Secondly, what year did it enter commercial service? Notice the words. What year did this kind of aircraft, not this specific subtype, that's a kind of later model with the extended lumpy bit on the back, but in what year did the first versions of this aircraft enter commercial service? Because obviously they were in test and things beforehand. And for the third point, what airline was the first airline to use this aircraft? And I'll give you a really big clue. The airline does not exist anymore. Yeah. So, what sort of aircraft is it? What year did it enter commercial service? And what airline was the first airline to use it? That's question 37. Question 38, smoking on passenger aircraft. 2 points available here. What was the first country in the world to ban smoking on passenger aircraft? They did it on domestic flights first, and then some years later commercial flights, but international flights. But for the second point, what year did this happen in? Which was the first country to ban smoking on aircraft, and what year did that happen in? Question 39. When, and I'll make this a bit easier, when did the first practical, functional helicopters fly? Was it before World War II, during World War II, or not until after World War II? So helicopters, we know what helicopters are, but when did the first practical, functional helicopters fly? I will say that there were people experimenting around from the very early part of the 20th century, even before actually. And we know Leonardo da Vinci had kind of a sketch of one. But when was the first helicopters flying that was both practical and functional? So being able to hop 50 metres, and then that doesn't count. So was it before World War II, during World War II, or not until after World War II? That was question 39 for a point, and question 40, 3 points because it's a picture question. Whoop, there we go. Who are these three people? They were all related to aviation. 1 point each. I will say, Mick Fong, if you smoked on an international flight in 1994, it would have depended quite a bit on which airline or which countries it's flying between. Hi, Wesley Curry II. We are well into this. We're just finished round 8, so there's only one more round to go. So see how you go. Write down your answers. We mark them at the end. Okay, so we're currently on question 40. Who are those three people in the photograph? Okay, now we go on to the final round, round 9, the final round, which is the whole bunch of unrelated shit round, but there's points. So question 41, this is something that has always tickled my fancy, so to speak. Which engineering invention shares its name with a former senior Australian politician? Yeah. Which engineering invention shares its name with a former senior Australian politician? Like the exact name. The former senior Australian politician was certainly active this century. The engineering invention, civil engineering. I'll say it's civil engineering. Okay, that's question 41. Which engineering invention shares its name with a former senior Australian politician? Question 42 for a point. Who came first? Daffy Duck or Donald Duck? I should have said the other way around because that's Donald Duck on the left and Daffy Duck on the right. But which came first? I do like the suggestion from Mick Fong that the politician was Button, but no, the full name matches the thing. What was Button's first name? Can't remember now. Okay, who came first? Daffy Duck or Donald Duck? Donald Duck or Daffy Duck? Donald on the left, Daffy on the right. Which came first? That's question 42 for a point. Question 43, which music artist's name is an anagram of Floris Wyatt? I don't know who Floris Wyatt is. When I saw the anagram generator spit that out, I thought, that's fantastic. That's a great name. Who is Floris Wyatt? And I'll leave that on screen for a moment because question 44, and it's worth 2 points this time, is always, what city is this? No, the city is not called Floris Wyatt. Alex Kidman, you naughty man. Those watching the chat know what I'm talking about. Okay, 44. What city is this? And, of course, over the top we have question 43, which is, who's that music artist? Question 44, by the way, the city one is worth 2 points this time. And finally, it's the 5-point finale, question 45. I'm going to give you a name of something. I'll give a choice of 3 things that is. You have to choose the correct one, and it's worth 5 points. Oh, I forgot to do a text thing for this to put it on the screen. But who or what or where or when or how is Klickitat? Klickitat. Actually, can I do this quickly? No, there's not a duplicate this thing button. That's very annoying. Okay, Klickitat. Is it A, the Klickitat people of the Pacific Northwest, a Native American tribe who numbered just a few hundred by 1910, and there's still some about, but they've mostly registered with neighbouring tribes. So is it the Klickitat people of the Pacific Northwest, or is it B, the Marshall Islands name for ClickX Pacific, which is an online currency exchange service that launched in 2002. They work across the Pacific Island nations. So for more than a decade now, they've actually had a way of integrating mobile phone companies into the mobile wallets on the phones and into the banking system. I've been doing quite a bit of work on the digital wallets and such things recently as a part of a contract work I'm doing. It's fantastic stuff. So B is Klickitat, what ClickX Pacific is called in the Marshall Islands, or is it C, Klickitat is a toy for infants made by Fat Brain Toys, which their blurb reads, push, spin, rattle, click and discover. Oh, I've just been told there's buffering. There's not a lot I can do about that. So please tell me when that comes back in the chat. I'll just, oh yes, that's really gone quite bad. I think it's coming back now. Yeah, that's still buffering quite severely. It does seem to be getting better, so I will continue. Okay. Yeah, there's quite a bit of lag still here for me, but it is still transmitting. So I will just say for question 45 then, I'll repeat the options. Klickitat people. Is it A, Native American tribe of the Pacific Northwest, B, a name in the Marshall Islands for the ClickX Pacific currency exchange, or C, a toy for infants made by Fat Brain Toys, which says push, spin, rattle, click and discover. Little hands will be occupied for hours with this thrilling sensory exploration experience. Push the pink bumpy ball in and the blue ball on the other side is pushed out. I will have to continue just for Mick Fong. No, not Internet of Trees. I'm on 5G here, so I'll bet like a tower has been hit or something, which is really quite difficult. Okay, I will have to continue as we can. Okay, I'll have another go. I'll have another go at that last question because it is worth 5 points. I'll read the whole thing again. The Klickitat people are a Native American tribe of the Pacific Northwest, numbering just a few hundred by 1910. Most of the remaining Klickitat people are in fact now registered with neighbouring tribes. Is it B, Klickitat is the Marshall Islands name for ClickX Pacific, an online currency exchange service that was launched in 2002. They now provide a platform so mobile phone companies can integrate their mobile wallet platforms into the banking system, or the phone companies, you know what I mean. Or is it C, Klickitat is a toy for infants made by Fat Brain Toys. Push, spin, rattle, click and discover. Little hands will be occupied for hours. It's a thrilling sensory exploration experience. Push the pink bumpy ball in and the blue ball on the other side is pushed out, etc., etc. Now, I don't think I can switch the video quality now that I've in fact started the live stream. Yeah, no, I can't. Sorry. I will, due to time constraints, have to roll back and start doing the answers. If you find this impossible, I will post the answers in a blog post or something on Twitter. Sorry, folks. I can't actually change it at the moment. We just have to put up with the internet being shit. So back to the beginning of part 3. Ready for me to start answering? No one can tell. I don't know. Sorry, everyone. But I will persist. Part 3, which is further from the equator? This is question 31. The answer is Washington, D.C. for a point. Washington, D.C. is 38.9 degrees north. Canberra is only 35.3 degrees south. So 1 point for Washington, D.C. Question 32. I want these 3 countries. These are the wheat-producing countries. Any order will do. They are China, India, and Russia. That's China, India, and Russia. 1 point for each of them in any order. And just for reference, Australia is at number 10 on that list of wheat-producing countries. Question 33. The world's largest single deposit of uranium is at Olympic Dam in South Australia. So you get 1 point if you said Australia. Anywhere in Australia will get you the point. You will get both points, all 2 points, if you said Olympic Dam in South Australia. That's Olympic Dam. That's 33 for 2 points. Question 34, where would you find the Sunda Strait? It's in Indonesia, between the islands of Sumatra and Java. So you will get the full 2 points if you said it's between Sumatra and Java. And so 1 point if you just said Indonesia. The suggestion has just been said to put the answers in the chat. This will make it all very rubbish, but yes, I will put the answers in the chat. Let me roll back. Question 31 is Washington, DC, 1 point. Question 32, China, India, Russia, 1 point. Any order, 1 point each. Okay. Question 33. Olympic Dam, Australia, for 2 points. 1 point for Australia. Question 34. Oh, this is a little bit slow while I'm faffing this. Points. 1 point for Indonesia. This is quite annoying for everyone, isn't it? Question 35, the map question. Okay, I've caught up between doing the questions on screen each for one. I can't type. This is shocking. 1 point each for Suriname 4 B Brazil is 8. C Venezuela is 2. D Guyana is 3. And E Colombia is 1. Oh, and it didn't put spaces in between those lines. Oh dear. Okay, that's 35. Question 36. The aircraft. Question 36. Oh, what the fuck just happened? Question 36. Flew non-stop Paris. half a point for Cross the Atlantic. 1927. And Charles Lindbergh. This is terrible, isn't it? This is... oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. Okay, question 37. That is, of course, a Boeing 747. It was 1970 and Pan Am. Points available. Question 38. That was about smoking. 1987. Australia in 1987 was the first for... two points. No, that was question 38. Yep. Question 39. Before World War II, and I'm just putting a picture on the screen. That... oh, I realised I can copy and paste shit, can't I? That's a Focke-Wulf 61, 1936. Honk. Okay, question 40. This is terrible. I need to step away from the keyboard for just a moment to deal with some food that is about to explode. Stand by. Sorry about that. That was some bad things were going to happen. Right, sorry about that. Some bad things are going to happen in the kitchen unless I dealt with something absolutely that moment. So let me just plug this back in. So what's happening here? Okay, we're back. Sorry, that's question 40. I have no idea whether you're lagging or not. All the chat is terrible, isn't it? I'm so sorry. It's not my fault, though. Okay, question 41. I'm going to type in here as well. We're still doing that for the time being. The answer is Warren Truss. Here's a picture. On the left, that is a Warren Truss, which was patented in 1848 by James Warren and his partner Willoughby Theobald. So that is a Warren Truss. And on the right, that is Warren Truss, MP, leader of the National Party from 2007 to 2016, which meant he was Deputy Prime Minister for a period. So a point for knowing that. On to the ducks. I think I can copy and paste the answer here. The answer, though, is Donald Duck was first. And I'm hoping this will paste in. Yes. So Donald Duck in 1934 in an animated film called The Wise Little Hen. Daffy Duck was not until 1937. Okay, the lag is just insane at the moment. I'll keep going through the chat. We'll do what we can. Question 43. 43 is Taylor Swift is the anagram that you see on screen as we speak. For a point. Question 44, 2 points. Let's just put the image on the screen. Let's put that. That is Nuuk in Greenland. Population about 18,000. And finally, question 45, A is the correct answer for 5 points. And that was that. And here is a picture from 1899 of a Klickitat warrior. So looking at the other questions, Klickitat is not a name in the Marshall Islands, although that thing I explained, ClickX Pacific, is an online currency exchange service across the South Pacific, launched in 2002. And C, Klickitat is not that. It's a thing called Clickety, which is that. So no points there, but that is what a clickety is, not a Klickitat. So you got 5 points for question 45. Now, I make it, there's 35 points in part 3 plus 45 in previous parts is a possible total of 80 points. Now the problem is as I say this, I want to test the lag. So in a minute,